everyone. And thank you, Aaron, for that really lovely introduction. And thank you for doing such a good job of the book. I don't know if it's displaced anxiety, but one of my biggest fears about the book was like, what if I don't like the cover? And I love the cover, so thank you so much. Yeah, so this little book took me a long time to write. Over the years, lots of poems came in and out of it, and so I suppose like what has ended up in it is like my favorite poems that I've written. Yeah, I'm going to start with this poem, which is about worry. I think worry is something that is quite prevalent in our society at the moment, and this poem came from when I was younger. My mum, who I think is out there somewhere, hi mum, got me some little worry dolls. I don't know if people remember those or have those. So they're like tiny little woolen dolls, and you tell them your worries, and that's supposed to kind of alleviate them. My capacity for worry was such as a young child that I worried about the extent that my offloading, like what effect that would have on the worry dolls. So this is kind of like where that came from, and it's called Confidences. When I was 11, my mother bought me a set of worry dolls, 6 little listeners rendered in pink and green thread from a market stall in town. I told them about the names I was being called at school, and about my irrational fear of the dark, and about how I wasn't actually so sure it was irrational, and about dying. Yes, even then it was a concern. And later on, I told them about my nose being so embarrassingly the wrong shape, and about how I was going to go to hell, but before then I'd have to sit through purgatory, and the 5 of them just took it in. Perhaps there were only ever 5, and they didn't pass judgment, so I told them some more things, like about the Yangtze River dolphin and the man on our street who shouted "fucking Thatcher" and wore Tesco carrier bags on his feet, and axe murderers and rare tropical diseases, and how people didn't like me because they didn't take the time to get to know me properly, and the 4 of them nodded their little woolen heads sympathetically. I told them about the global climate emergency, and they didn't even seem surprised. And when another schoolgirl was shot dead in her pigtails, they said, "We know, we know, we know," and they stared up at me like the 3 Margie in a knitted nativity, gazing up at the sky. We shared a bottle of Jim Beam, and I began to talk about losing bits of myself, sending vital parts off in packages addressed to publishing houses and forgetting to include an SAE, and about waking in the night to check if I could still use a pen in case I found I'd been extinguished like a firefly softly stifled beneath the surface of a lake, and about advertisements for makeup and breakfast cereal that are meant to make you worry about the lines in your face and the overspill of your gut, when really you should be worrying about something useful like the housing crisis, but you are worrying about the lines in your face, and that means you're going to hell. And they both looked tired, and one said, "I'm sorry, I can't take this anymore," and shuffled off right out the living room door, and the other one just stared at me and shrugged. Thanks. What else was I going to read? Oh yeah, so I've been thinking about like all the messaging that we get in sort of culture and like mass media and social media about like being the real you, and like being your authentic self, and like being the best version of you. And it's all very like, there's a lot of pressure to be an exceptional individual, and nobody just says like, be a part of the kind of homogenous grey mass, and sometimes like that's all you want to, you know, be. And I've been thinking about hermit crabs and how they spend their whole lives like living inside the shells of other creatures, and what would happen if you said to the hermit crab like, "Oh, just come out and be the real you, like show your true self." So this is called Imploring the Hermit Crab to Embrace Her True Self. Come out of that closet you know was never yours. Aren't you tired of pretending? Aren't you tired of the ill-fitting husk, the grit under your cuticles? I can hear your swan-winged soul rattling at the exoskeletal bars, see the true blueness bubbling in your blood. I can help you shine. Your jelly legs are dying to catwalk the strand. You want to walk forwards. You want to upstage the dancing millions who wave their red claws like a robotic murmuration. Don't they know the collective is dead? I know, because I saw it in an Adam Curtis documentary. You want to show off your lacy, pincering secrets, blowing kisses to the scallops, crying, "Tonight, Matthew, I will be me." You can do this. I know, because 11 people Googled me last month. Let them look. The paparazzi gulls, the seedy squids with suckers down their knickers. The enlarged claw is for selfies. The tender flesh is for gorging. Let them feast their eyes. Thanks. So next poem I thought I'd do. Oh, when I lived in London in 2006, a whale, a bottlenose whale, washed into the River Thames and was swimming up and down the river. And I think it's happened a few times since as well. And it was just quite a surreal thing, you know, to happen. And there's a report on Wikipedia about it, and it says, at 8:30 a.m. on Friday the 20th of January 2006, David Dopin was on a train when he phoned the authorities to say that he believed he had been hallucinating as he thought he had just spotted a whale swimming in the River Thames. So I wrote about this incident from three perspectives. From the perspective of David, who saw the whale and thought he was hallucinating, for the perspective of the whale, and then also from the perspective of the train which David was on. So you'll get this poem in three parts, and it's called David and the Whale. So David. My coffee was bitter and too hot. I spilt a dirty river on my leg. The pain opened a door. In swam the visions. What can you do but phone the authorities? My mother didn't pick up. The pewter beak, the phalanxes of teeth. I held a bowling ball head in my hands and kissed a pillow of salt. Before I shut my laptop, I deleted all the files, the mud pressed up against the rattling windows. I surrendered myself to the flood. The whale. The monster was all tail. Exoskeleton solid as turtle shell, two bright eyes like a will-o'-the-wisp of the anglerfish. This wasn't in the guidebook. Now I'm strapped in by the bridges. I don't believe in doping for a second. Cited nowhere but Wikipedia and far too close to dolphin. Here come the shakes. I can't hear myself think, but I know what I've seen. The train. It's been 3 days. And I've yet to leave the depot. The doctor signed me off. The nausea, the dizzy spells, the concrete wall brings solace, but there's water on the tracks. Everything is slipping, a liquid chaos you can't contain in a paper cup, the infestation I ingest each morning. The world beyond Slade Green is trembling. Thank you. And I think I'll just do one more. I don't know how long I've been reading for, but it feels like probably nearly 10 minutes. Yeah, I thought I'd finish with this one, which is based on the Selkie myths, which a lot of people probably know about. There's a lot of myths in Scotland and Ireland and also Scandinavia about Selkies. So Selkies are seals that come on land, shed their skins and become human. And they can only return to their seal form if they put their skin back on and go back into the sea. They're often women And what usually happens in these stories is the seal comes onto land, sheds their skin, becomes a woman. A man turns up and hides her skin and marries her. So she has to stay in her human form. And she usually has a life as a human woman and has children and all the rest of it, but spends her whole life kind of longing to go back into the sea. And longing to find her skin so she can return. Sometimes she does. Sometimes she finds the skin and is back into the sea. But anyway, this is my version of it. And it's called The Selkie Searches for Her Skin. I combed the nooks of Ravenscar where seals haul out on rocks like turkey breasts on stainless worktops, but all I found was the discarded nylon raincoat of a drowned or disillusioned tourist. Needless to say, it didn't fit. At Robin Hood's Bay, I crawled into an outlaw's cave where I stubbed my toe on a treasure chest, oak thick and gilded and the size of a swollen fist. I locked myself inside and lay perfectly still, counting the seconds between the waves until the tide came in. I floated away on a 6-foot swell and washed up in my lover's bed. I peeled off his sheets and disemboweled the pillows until feathers flew about the room like a goose being shot or a scene from a bad rom-com. I opened up drawers full of socks and letters from the council. I opened the letters and wrote replies saying, please, Chamber of Local Representatives, have you seen my skin? I needed bottles to put the letters in, so I drank my lover's gin. I pushed back all the bookcases to look for secret doors. I broke down the doors and raided the fairy kingdoms behind until the little people wept. The last time I had it, I was 11. No, 12. I don't remember seals, but I remember eggs being cracked irrevocably into a frying pan the way this made me cry. My lover came home and cradled my pain in his ego. Where had I been all this time? He'd have to phone the Coast Guard, call the search party off. I tried to fob him off with my 2-minute beach clean bit, but the plastic sack in my hand was empty as a pelt strewn on a taxidermist's floor. Thank you very much.